All right. So, Brian, thank you so much for catching up with me. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for yourself with your time, and what did your property structure look like before you reached out to me? If you want to share that with me, if you'd like,
Yeah,
let's
no
go.
problem. I'm Brian. I'm a primary school teacher here in Victoria. Uh, yeah, just turned 40 a year or so ago. My journey with property, I guess in teaching and life as well. For a couple of years, for 4 years, I taught overseas, and I was in Dubai for a while and Brunei for a while, and loved the travel and the things I did. But I was also fortunate enough to come back to Australia with a house deposit after that time away, because pay was good and it was tax-free countries. So about 12 years ago, I bought my first property that was my own personal residence, and bought at a really good time. The market in Victoria did really well. A couple of years ago, I moved to regional Victoria and had enough equity built up to turn my original house into an investment property and then buy up in Shepparton. But then found myself a little bit stuck. So I got into a position where lots of people get to, and I had property my own personal residence, and then had an investment but couldn't go any further. I'd spoken to a few people, and then through my little sister happened to stumble upon Olivia, and now on a journey where I've got my own trust and company set up, and recently just made my first purchase with inside that. So things are moving, things good.
Well done. Look at you, professional investor owning properties and trust. And so I was going to ask you that, like, what was one of the things why reach out to me in the first place? Was it because you were stuck, obviously?
It was because I was stuck. So I'd had a few conversations with different mortgage brokers and people had come across. I wanted to keep investing, and speaking to people basically said, no way, you're not in a position to do that, not even close. And so I just sort of left it on the back burner, and it was something that I wanted to do. I tried to look into things myself, but was getting nowhere. Yeah, and then when Tori, my little sister, had ventured through and came across you, I was kind of inspired by her journey and got to walk that with her as well. And then, yeah, I reached out to Olivia and we had a chat, and that's, yeah, how things came to be.
I love that. So good, Brian. So if you were to explain the process of what you went through, and the experience of me helping you and all that sort of jazz, how would you explain the process to somebody else who's like, somebody comes to you, right? And they're like, hey, Brian, like, what's going to happen? What do you go through?
Yeah. Okay. So the once I reached out, we had an initial Zoom contact. So that was an hour, sort of an hour and a half. And it was, I guess that was more a bit of a generic meeting where Olivia was finding out where I was at in my journey, what sort of my situation looked like, but talking about what she does with positively geared properties and borrowing capacity and things like that. So it was sort of a very general conversation. And then as my situation became clearer, it became more specific. And then after that initial Zoom, I had a series of probably quite specific questions and queries. I understood a whole lot, and there were some things I didn't quite grasp. I was able to go, hey, Olivia, what about this? What about this? What about this? I'm looking at this. I watched this video, because Olivia kept sending me different videos and homework to do. And every time I was able to ask a question, I'd get an answer back either in a voice message, a text message, a video sometimes Olivia would make for me, and I was able to answer those specific questions that I had, which was amazing because it was all personalized. It was all based on my reality and situation, and not just sort of a generic conversation.
So good. I loved it. You were very eager for me to teach, and you definitely had me on my toes as well. And I was like, I love these questions that Brian's asking. So you're a very, very good student as well, considering that you are a teacher. So I love that by profession. And so how are you feeling about your property portfolio now?
Well, it's been interesting. So this year we've had, all of the rate increases and things like that. So that's been a different, like I've had some good coaching in that as well, because it's just a season. And so it was a frustrating step to get to where I've now bought my third property, because the goalposts kept changing for me. So during the process, I think it took end up about 4 or 5 months, but there was 4 or 5 rate rises in there. So it was a frustrating experience, but now I've settled on a property. I've got tenants moving in next week, and that's super exciting. But I guess what I've got now, which is amazing. One of the first things that you taught me was I've got a really good team around me. I've got a property coach. I've got people. I've got a great mortgage broker. I've got a great accountant. I've got people who know more about this than me all around me, which is so good. Like, I'm not doing this by myself, which is the best spot that I think that I'm in.
Amazing. So you feel like you're confident because you're like, I'm empowered. I've got the right team, and I know that whatever storms come my way, we'll be able to get through them.
Yeah, and I know that the team that are around me, if I go, all right, when can I go again? When can I go again? Because I'm keen to do that it might not be a reality now, but in 6 months that might change, and they're going to keep touching base with me and keep looking at numbers and crunching that and go, all right, now it's time. So I know that I've got people looking out for me in that perspective.
So good. We are here to help you build an entire portfolio, not just buy one property. I love that. Yes. So good. All right. So one last question for you, just to wrap up. Brian, if there was anyone in your shoes at the moment, or your past shoes, who was maybe had 1 or 2 properties, who's kind of stuck and didn't know what to do, what advice would you give them? It
would be reach out to people and have conversations, because on your own and with the knowledge that you have, you might not get anywhere. And that's the experiences I was having. The first conversation that I had with Olivia was totally responsibility free, no strings attached. It was just a conversation that cost me nothing except an hour of my time. So reach out to someone like Olivia, have that initial conversation, be honest with where you're at, and then, your reality and where you're at might significantly change with people around you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time and your feedback, Brian. We and fellow Australians appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.